A state of emergency ending after a white nationalist sparked controversy at UF. Officers kept the peace as tensions flared.
Keep moving, please. Keep moving, keep moving. Let's go. Seriously, let's go. Come on, keep going.
How the campus is moving forward. After more than $600,000 in security costs for hundreds of officers from across the state positioned all across the University of Florida, it's been a peaceful night in Gainesville after a tense day.
White nationalist Richard Spencer taking over the Phillips Center for a speech. The president of UF, Kent Fox, tweeted out his thoughts thanks tonight, saying, "We are so grateful for the thousands plus officers who have been on our campus and in our community the past 4 hours. Thank you." In a joint statement from several law enforcement departments across the state, officers say it was a mostly peaceful day. Near campus, Gainesville police responded to a shooting after Richard Spencer's speech. Police say the incident started as a verbal confrontation outside a CVS store, then escalated. Witnesses told police a Jeep followed the group to a nearby bus stop and fired a single shot. No one was injured. Police, though, are still looking for that shooter. We are covering several angles, from inside the Phillips Center to social media reaction. We begin with Channel 4's Eric Avanier live at UF. Eric, after speaking with those on both sides of you, you noticed one thing they all had in common.
Yeah, they all had the one thing in common, which was passion. We saw passion on both sides. We saw it play out in the street, and we could hear it very loud and clear from people who came here to support what they believe in. There was no lack of passion when it came to protesting white nationalist Richard Spencer's speaking event, as protesters really made their voices heard.
Not in our town! Not in our state! We don't want your Nazi hate!
Now, many of these protesters are UF students who say they never imagined seeing this amount of controversy on their campus.
It's definitely scary, and seeing the helicopters and drones, and especially the overcast is also giving it a feel of just impending doom. I think everyone's just a little bit scared and on edge, but we also want to stand together and support each other.
And I never would have guessed that we'd be living in a time where people would be comfortable coming out and speaking values of hate and white supremacy.
But one Spencer supporter we spoke to doesn't see it that way. Are you a racist?
I don't even know what that means. If it means I work for the welfare and interests of my people, in that sense, I have an identity with my race.
Now, fortunately, there were enough police on campus to keep skirmishes between the two groups to a minimal. Reporting live, Eric Avanier, Channel 4, the local station.
So, Eric, did the people you talked to today, did they feel the extra security actually helped keep things calm?
Well, yes, most people I talked to say that was the case. In fact, I remember we were at a gate here when the crowd was letting out from that event, and there was a point to where we were right in between protesters and the police that were all lined up. And I could tell you those police officers, they were protecting the supporters, the Spencer supporters, from basically being attacked by what appeared to be protesters who obviously wanted to cross that line.
All right, Eric Avanier reporting live from Gainesville tonight. Eric, thank you.
The protests at the University of Florida have remained the #1 story today on news4jax.com. This story also generated hundreds of reactions and comments to our Facebook page. Mary is standing by with what some of you had to say about today's event. Mary?
Well, Kent, we've seen people in support of Richard Spencer and many against. In fact, Beth Graham posted to our Facebook page saying, "I just love to see how one man can control the masses. The best way to handle this kind of a person is to ignore them." And she says, ignore ignorance. And meanwhile, Chris Altman also posted, and he was supporting Spencer. He says, "Why try to drown him out? He rented the place and has free speech. They didn't rent it. They should be removed," they being crowds who were against Spencer. And then there's Jake Kessler, and Jake said he had actually addressed the protesters saying, quote, "I don't see the point in protesting anything. I don't support the guy whatsoever. But do these people actually think they're going to change anyone's mind? You're definitely not going to change his mind or his supporters." Now, you can still weigh in on the discussion. Just head to our Facebook page, and that's WJXT for the local station.
Mary, thanks. Well, there were more than 2,500 demonstrators on campus, but officers say there were only 2 arrests. First, an Orlando man who said he was hired as a security guard by a media outlet. He was arrested for carrying a gun onto UF's campus. Sean Bridge-Mohan was arrested on a charge of carrying a firearm on school property. The second arrest, David Note from Gainesville. He was arrested and charged with resisting law enforcement without violence. He was booked into the Alachua County Jail.
In a crowd both of supporters and demonstrators inside the Phillips Center today. Channel 4's Vic Michelucci was inside for Spencer's speech, and he spoke with students in attendance.
Richard Spencer had 2 hours blocked out for the speech, but he only took about an hour and a half. And that might be because so many of the protesters in the audience made a ruckus. That's what they told me they were trying to do. They were yelling, they were screaming, they were booing him, and they were chanting, "Go home, Richard. You're not welcome here. We are not listening to you." In fact, a lot of times their noise was so loud that it was hard to hear what he had to say, but he and his supporters yelled back. Did his words hurt? Did they hurt you?
No, not at all. Okay. It was, again, I don't want to make light of the situation, but it didn't bother me. You know, I just went in with a clear mind, open ears.
I came here and I could not even hear what he was saying. I wish I had earplugs. It's just, people have this horribly misconstrued idea of the First Amendment.
I just wanted to evaluate, and if he was as bad as everyone said he was, I would have made that decision for myself. However, everyone was extremely obnoxious, everyone was extremely rude.
We saw at least one student who was against Richard Spencer's viewpoints get removed by police for a confrontation with some nationalist supporters. When we left, that's when we really started to see the controversy. There was a large crowd being held back by the Florida Highway Patrol state troopers as well as other police officers. A few punches were thrown, and that's when the officers had to separate some people, especially the supporters for Richard Spencer. I did try to speak with them on camera, but they told me they did not want to show their faces. They did not want to give their names because they feared for their safety. At the University of Florida in Gainesville, I'm Vic Michelucci, Channel 4, the local station.
Our coverage of Richard Spencer's speech at UF continues online. You can check out a photo gallery, pictures from inside and outside the Phillips Center.